Hi. So I've been thinking about how we need to harness the power of dialogue more to develop characters in students' creative writing. And also, let's talk about the formatting and the punctuation while we're at it. Let's go. Righto. So this is not going to come to as a shock to anyone who knows me, but I am a chatterbox and I totally wear my heart on my sleeve. It's fairly easy to get to know me. Now, this and a few other things have had me thinking about how we get to know people by what they say. But are we harnessing that enough when we are teaching creative writing to our students? So are we pushing that addition of dialogue in their stories? If you're anything like me, you don't. Why? Why don't I, perhaps you, push dialogue as a way to develop characters? Well, number one, I kind of tend to assume that it's a given. If students want to put dialogue in, they will. A lot of the time they don't want to because it is difficult. So, slack, eh? The other thing is, I will often rather flippantly go through, well, if you want to keep your dialogue realistic, we don't tend to finish sentences. We ramble a lot. We use slang. We speak with terrible grammar. So make sure that's reflected in your dialogue. Oh, and use quotation marks. And then I go, yeah, tick that box and kind of am thinking, oh, I really hope that the teacher last year covered that really well. So that's another one. And the other thing is the whole formatting punctuation thing drives us nuts and it drives students nuts. So I want to discuss the formatting punctuation thing in here as well. Before we get into formatting and punctuation of dialogue, let's go through the list of things that help make dialogue sound realistic. All of this stuff is freely available on the net. You look up how to make dialogue realistic and the stuff will come up. So, and I've picked these things up over the years as well. So let's read straight from the blog. Sentences are left unfinished, especially me, my children will say. Ideas don't flow logically. We tend to jump from one thing to the next. Real speech is generally full of terrible grammar. It rambles, it's repetitious. We sometimes rely on physical gestures to make meaning clear, don't we? So that's the sort of additional bit that students can put in, but we'll talk about that later. It uses elision, so we miss out like entire words or letters. So I'm going instead of I'm going, we miss out the G. And of course, we use slang, tons and tons and tons of slang all the time, bruh. Let's talk about formatting now. I hear you say. Right. So there are three parts to formatting that we need to specifically teach students to help them put dialogue into their writing. So the first thing is paragraphing, changes in paragraph for a change in speaker. The second thing is the indentation of the first line of each paragraph and using the tab key. And the third thing is punctuation. Let's talk about the changes in speaker. So when there is a change in speaker, there is a change in paragraph. Now, I used to say, if it's a new speaker, it's a new paragraph, but that doesn't work. If the banter is going between Sally and Tim, the kids say to me, but Sally's not a new speaker, Miss. She's been there all along, so I'm not changing I'm not making a new paragraph. And then it's like, what? So say if the speaker changes from Sally to Tim, from Tim to Sally, then they change the paragraph. Change in speaker, change in paragraph. So that is number one. Now, prove it. Prove it by grabbing a novel that has dialogue in it and showing the students. In fact, photocopy the page and give it to them or put it up on your big screen. The only little thing to remember here is that a lot of novels, and we'll talk about this in a minute too, a lot of novels are use the single quotation marks now. It's fine. If you want to accept that, I'm old school. I don't accept that. I don't know, have that discussion with your students, decide in your department. I think everybody should be on the same page. But anyway, I'm a fan of double quotation marks, so that's what I will talk about here. So that's change in speaker, change in paragraph. The second thing about formatting is the indenting. Now, I don't like students missing a whole line. You know, when we're typing now, we miss a whole line to show a new paragraph. However, if students have a ton of dialogue in their story and they are doing that, the story gets spread out over pages and pages, and it just looks dumb, to me anyway. You can decide. So I try and get my students to mimic what you see in novels, in that they indent the first line of every paragraph. Again, I will show the students a page of a novel to show this indent. Now, the key here is to teach the students about the tab key. Oh, do you like my little pun there? So many of them go spacebar, 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 spacebar to leave this indentation when they just need to be pushing the tab key to make those indentations uniform all the way down their page. So they might need to adjust those indentations with the ruler function. They can faff around with that. It's time they learned. We never teach them typing word processing skills. So this is part of that, right? So get them to use the tab key to indent the first line of every paragraph. Tell them not to miss a whole line. Oh, and vital, don't let them do both. So sometimes they'll still miss a whole line and indent the first line. Don't let them do that. That's the thing that drives me really crazy. Okay, the third rule of formatting is punctuation, which technically should be separate from formatting. Okay, whatever. Punctuation. I only have two things that I tell my students. The first one is that they must use the double quotation marks. Now, I have talked to you about this already. It's up to you, but I think it should be a department decision about what you're going to accept for dialogue, the doubles or the singles. I'm holding on like Braveheart Man to those doubles because I think that is the correct form, the 66 and the 99. So that's what I insist on in my classroom. And the other thing, the second rule that students know is that they must have a bit of punctuation before their 66 or 99, before any quotation mark. So sometimes if you are starting with a quotation and a quotation mark, the bit of punctuation that comes before that will be, say, the full stop of the sentence before it. That's okay. But so long as the students go through and their little alarm bells go off, oh, there's a quotation mark. Do I have punctuation before it? Oh, there's a quotation mark. Do I have punctuation in front of it? And that's how they can easily check that. So that's the rule. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Right, here's a wee practice activity that you can give to the students. So I suggest that you get them to transcribe, say, a conversation that they had with their mates or their family members recently. An alternative to this is you could put a conversation up on your big screen from a film that they're studying or something like that, and get them to transcribe that. Now, it's important that they transcribe because you want them to start with no formatting whatsoever. They are going to have to do this. So they've got their transcript. The next step is that they add in the fillers, you know, the said Sue, the replied Joe, that kind of thing. And then they can go through it and make sure they are changing paragraphs for the changes in speaker. Obviously, they need to be typing this, right? So I nearly said new paragraph and new speaker. Change in paragraph for the changes in speaker. So they need to go through and do that. Then they need to make sure that their changes in their paragraphs are indented. And, you know, they'll start freaking out because if there's just a little bit of conversation there, there's indent, and it looks funny, but show them again in that page from that novel. Yes, sometimes it is all indented because it's a new paragraph, and it's only one line per paragraph. That's normal. When they look at it in a novel, they accept it. But when they look at it in their own writing, it freaks them out. So they just have to get used to that. So they're putting in their new paragraphs with their indentations. Make sure they're not doing that whole new line as well as the indentation. And then they can go back after that, once they've got it right. You have to check it. Get them to go back and say, okay, can you take out any of those said Sue's, replied Joe's? Because, is it easy enough already for the reader to navigate through that dialogue to tell who is speaking just by the new changes in paragraphs? Okay, so because we want to take out that kind of thing because it bogs down writing, right? It makes it sluggish. So if they can take out the saids and the exclaimed and the replies, and still have the reader understand who is talking, then that is fantastic. So that's the next step to do. After that, students can punctuate. And remember, there's only 2 rules. Double quotation marks, 66 and 99, around what's said, and have a bit of punctuation before every quotation mark. Yes, before every 66 and before every 99. So have a go at that. I originally thought record conversations with friends, but I think danger, if you do think of that, I would recommend you don't, because that could get you in a whole pile of hot water. Just, stay away from recording people's conversations. Okay, so now that your students know what realistic dialogue looks like, they know how to format it, how to punctuate it, why not have a go with a task? And they've practiced it, right? So why not have a go, give them a writing task where they actually start. It's all based on conversation. Sort of in my blog, I wrote, oh my goodness, this sounds a bit like Waiting for Godot, because, you have a couple of characters there having a conversation. But I think it would be worth having a go at this for a task. So the students would start with that dialogue, but then you pad it out with things, actions like the body language and facial gestures. So body language, she looked down and she tweaked at the fur ball on her jersey. She scuffed her feet as she talked, whatever. Facial gesture, his disgust registered in the curling of his top lip, and other cliches like that. And descriptions of surroundings and so on and so forth. So they are starting with that dialogue, though, and really showing who those characters are, developing those characters through dialogue. Like a play script, right? But then they pad it out. So you sort of start with the play script and pad it out. So I think that would be a really cool idea for a writing task for, say, year 11 or year 12 in particular, where they're really needing to develop, maybe year 13 too, develop those characters and show their writing skills. So fantastic way to showcase, using incomplete sentences for effect, deliberately, using slang, using elision, all of those things. So enjoy the dialogue revival. See ya.